Hello, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. My name is Mary and today's video is going to be my Sorry Picks My TBR for the month of June. So every month on my channel I try to play this game where I go around the Sorry board and I pick prompts that I then pick books based on those prompts to read for the month. And I start off with 4 picks. If I pull a Sorry card, then I add an extra book and we'll just see where the board takes us. This is actually a really fun game this month. It got pretty exciting. So let's see what the first card is. Okay, so since last time we ended up on Sci-fi, I'm trying to get home and then I can start the game over again. I don't really have anything for when I go home anymore, but we'll just see what happens. Sorry. Immediately we're adding a book. Move forward 8, can't move. Move forward 2, perfect. Home. So now we'll start on yellow. Sorry again, so we're immediately adding another book. Move backwards 4. So we'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 4. A book in a series. So the first 2 cards that I pulled were Sorries this month, which means that instead of reading 4 books, I'm starting off with 6 books, which is funny. I don't know if it's ever happened that way before, but it did happen that way because I was trying to get around the board or get up the little column. So anyways, 2 Sorries. So we're starting off with 6 books, but the first actual prompt that I have to read is a series book. And for this, I'm going to be reading the next book in the Game of Thrones series. I have been reading basically a book a month in the series all year. And spoiler alert for my wrap up for May, I did actually read the 4th book, which is called A Feast of Crows. In May, I finished it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get to it, but I did. And I'll save my thoughts on that for my wrap up. But I believe the 5th book, is it A Dance with Dragons? Could be, I'm not sure. I think it's the last book that has been written, but don't quote me on that. I'm gonna hopefully read this book in June. I'm putting it on my list so that I can sort of cross off Game of Thrones of the things that I am reading. I'm not loving this series. It's an epic fantasy series, and we primarily follow like 4 different families in this world where there are 7 kingdoms, and each kingdom is kind of ruled by a family faction. And at the beginning of the series, there's this thing called the Iron Throne, which is sort of like the kingdom that not really runs all of the kingdoms, but like it's the biggest power seat. And so now there's this rush to fill this power vacuum. There's so many POVs from different characters, from different families. They all have different motivations, and they're really trying to like work against each other and undercut each other so that someone can take this like power. And it's interesting because a lot of it is like parents trying to get the seat for their kids. And then others are people trying to get it for themselves. Some people are just trying to prevent a certain person from not getting it. So it's a really interesting series. I don't love it the way that a lot of people do. A lot of battles in it, and I've talked before on this channel that that's not really something that I love reading about. It's very violent, and also there's like a lot of very graphic depictions of like rape and torture and things like that, which are things that I just personally don't enjoy reading. So I'm excited to keep going in it because it did get really good with book 3. It was on a really good track. So hopefully I enjoy the 5th book, and we'll just see where we're at when I read it. Move forward 3. 1, 2, 3. A historical book. The next prompt I landed on was to read a historical book, and this didn't say historical fiction. So I am sort of taking that prompt to mean a book about history or a book set sometime else. Can be really anything. I'm gonna be reading These Truths, A History of the United States by Jill Lepore, which I believe I have an audiobook of. And I think it's just a nonfiction book about the United States from its inception until now. I mentioned in a video kind of recently, I don't remember what video it is right now off the top of my head, but I mentioned that I want to be learning more about history. Like it's something that I've never really had a very good grasp on, but I feel like it's important as a citizen of the world to have a good like grasp on historical context of things. And I'm not in school anymore, obviously, but like that doesn't mean I need to stop learning. I actually have a 1 word for the year, and my word is learn. So I am hoping that I can glean some knowledge from this and that it can be something that I enjoy reading about and that I can just sort of like make my way through. I've got some driving coming up this month, so hopefully I can listen to it on a drive or something. And now we need a 1. Is there even a 1? I think so. I hope so. Or to go backwards again. Move forward 8, can't move. Move forward 12, can't move. Move forward 7. So this one says move forward 7 or split your move into 2. So we're going to split it into 2. We're going to go 1 here, and then we're going to start down here in green and go 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slide all the way to the end. We got sci-fi. The third prompt that I landed on was to read a sci-fi book. And for this, I'm going to be reading A Girl from Nowhere by James Maxwell, which is the first book in a trilogy called the Firewall Trilogy. And I'm just going to read you a snippet of what it's about. So this is a fantasy sci-fi dystopian book. It is also tagged as having magic. So I'm not sure how sci-fi this is versus fantasy, but it is dystopian, which again, I consider science fiction. It says, life in the wasteland is a constant struggle. No one knows it better than Taman. Crippled and with only his indomitable aunt to protect him, Taman must learn how to survive in a world scorched by 2 suns and frequently by raiders. But when Taman discovers his homestead ransacked and his aunt killed, he sets off with one to seek revenge against those who stole everything. With nowhere to call home, his hunt soon takes a turn when he meets a mystic, Selena, who convinces him to join her search for the fabled White City. Taman and Selena both need a refuge, and the White City is a place where Taman may find someone to heal his childhood injury. As they avoid relentless danger, Taman and Selena attempt to reach the one place that promises salvation, and they can only hope that the city is the haven they need it to be. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading that summary, but I'm excited to read this series. If I don't like the first one, as always, I will just cut the rest of the series from my list, and no love lost, it'll be fine. But if I do like it, then I will read a book that I like. So those are really the 2 options here. Move forward 1. That's funny. I just was questioning what it was. A thriller. Next prompt that I landed on was to read a thriller. And for this, I'm going to be reading In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. So I'm reading this primarily because it also works for the buzzword, which the buzzword for June is books that have repeating words in the title. And I'm pretty sure Kayla has said specifically or explicitly that you can use a book that has the word the twice if you want to, but I thought this was perfect because it's in a dark, dark wood. And I'm trying to read all of Ruth Ware's books. I know she has like 2 more recent books, so I'm trying to read her backlist right now, but I also eventually would like to read her more recent books. My favorites by her that I've read are The Turn of the Key, which I think is sitting right behind me. Yeah, it's right here. And One by One. Those are the 2 that I've liked the best. But I'm excited to read this one. It says, what should be a cozy and fun-filled weekend deep in the English countryside takes a sinister turn in Ruth Ware's suspenseful, compulsive, and darkly twisted psychological thriller. When reclusive writer Leonora is invited to the English countryside for a weekend away, she reluctantly agrees to make the trip. But as the first night falls, revelations unfold among friends, old and new. An unnerving memory shatters Leonora's reserve, and a haunting realization creeps in. The party is not alone in the woods. I'm probably going to listen to this as an audiobook. That's how I've read all of the books that I've read by Ruth Ware so far. I have reread the ones that I enjoyed the most, or I did reread One by One physically, and I bought a copy of The Turn of the Key so I can reread it physically as well. But I love the audiobook narrator that she picks for her books. I don't know the girl's name off the top of my head, but I think it's Imogen something. She's great. I'm excited to finally get to this book. This came out in 2015, so it is a more backlist title. I've heard some people say that you either like Ruth Ware's more recent books or you like her older books better. I'm not sure where exactly I fall. The other one that I've read is The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and I thought it was fine. And then I read The It Girl, and I also kind of thought it was fine. So I'm not sure exactly where the sweet spot for me is going to be, but she writes books that are technically mystery thrillers, but the ones that I've read that I've really enjoyed have definitely been slower paced and felt much more like mysteries than they do like thrillers. But then they end up picking up towards like the second half, but like more towards the final third is when it gets like really going and feels very like suspenseful and thrilling, if you will. So that's sort of how her pacing works out. But I find them well paced. I know for some people they're really slow. That's why I'm bringing it up. But I'm excited to read that. 5th pick. Move forward 1 again. A random letter generator. The next prompt I landed on was a random letter generator. And so I'll go ahead and play the random letter generator now so you can see what letter I got. As usual, I am not a fancy YouTuber, so I'm using my phone to record my computer screen, but I've pulled up this random letter generator. It will generate over here. Obviously, there's already a letter there, but we are just going to generate a letter. And then I have to pick a book that either the author or the title begins with the letter that I pick. I hope that makes sense. E. So either an author, either their first or last name or something begins with an E, or a book where one of the words in it begins with an E. I'm making it as easy on myself as I possibly can. So as you see, I got the letter E, and for this, I am going to be reading The Identicals by Ellen Hildebrand. And I don't know that I've read anything by Ellen Hildebrand. Don't quote me on that. I may have. I know I own at least one of her books. Is it this one? It might be this one. I'll have to look on my shelves and see. I think I have read another book by Ellen Hildebrand, or I just have a lot of her books on my TBR. But she tends to write like chick lit books. What I would classify as like mom fiction beach reads. And they all also tend to have a like beach scene on the cover. I read 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrand. So if you were wondering, I read that a couple years ago and I loved it. So that's a good sign for me. This says, identical twin sisters who couldn't look more alike or live more differently. Harper Frost is laid back, easygoing. She doesn't care what anyone thinks of her. She likes a beer and a shot and wouldn't be caught dead wearing anything fashionable. She's inherited her father's rundown house on Martha's Vineyard, but she can't hold down a job. And her latest romantic disaster has the entire island talking. Tabitha Frost is dignified, refined. She prefers a fine wine and has inherited the impeccable taste of her mother, the iconic fashion designer, Eleanor Roxy Frost. She's also inherited her mother's questionable parenting skills. Tabitha's teenage daughter, Ainsley, is in full rebellion mode in a flailing fashion boutique on Nantucket in desperate need of a cash infusion. One unforgettable summer that will change their lives forever. After more than a decade apart, Harper and Tabitha switch islands and lives to save what's left of their splintered family. So this sounds fun. Sounds like they're identical twins who live different lives, and they're gonna do like a little wife swap moment. Or like what is that movie with Lindsay Lohan where she plays both twins? Parent Trap. So I think this sounds fun. Again, I really enjoy books that explore familial relationships, and sometimes I just am in the mood for a light, fluffy beach read, and that's what this kind of sounds like it will be. If I remember correctly, 28 Summers was very emotional, so I don't know if this is gonna have the same emotional vibe as that one. So yeah, I'm excited to read this one because I know I really enjoyed her other book, and I hope I like this one as well. Last card, hopefully, for this game. Move forward 8. Ooh, Matt pick. That's my husband, so we'll let him pick a book. And the last prompt I actually forgot to do, but it is to let Matt pick a book. So I will let him pick, and hopefully by the time I edit this video, I can just pop a picture of whatever title he picks here. I have some guesses for what he might pick, but I will just let him pick whatever he wants me to read. It might be something on my TBR. It might be something that I own. It also might be something that he has read and enjoyed and just wants me to read. We will see what he picks for me, but you'll know right now. Hello. Okay, so I'm actually gonna pop in here and tell you about the book that Matt picked for me because I feel like it's easier to talk about it this way, and I haven't really heard anybody talk about this book, so I don't know how easy it would be to know what it was if I just showed a picture, but I am gonna be reading Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straka and J.J. Abrams. So Matt got this for me for Christmas. It's supposed to be similar to House of Leaves, which I have not read, but I do also own. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere up here. Oh, it's right here. Yeah. So I'm gonna read this. I believe it's like a book within a book. If you look, oh no, there's a lot of stuff in here. So there's like, this was in the back. And then if you look inside, you can hopefully see that there's a lot of stuff. I'm trying not to spoil myself or anything. I don't know what this is about. And it doesn't say, the inside flap says book for loan, which it is not. I bought it. I just actually took plastic wrap off of it because it was brand new. And it comes in this little like case. It does say on the back here what it is about. So I'm gonna read this to you. It says, a young woman picks up a book left behind by a stranger. Inside it are his margin notes, which reveal a reader entranced by the story and by its mysterious author. She responds with notes of her own, leaving the book for the stranger, and so begins an unlikely conversation that plunges them both into the unknown. The book, Ship of Theseus, the final novel by a prolific but enigmatic writer named V.M. Straka, so it's a pen name. So it's, okay, sorry. In which a man with no past is shanghaied onto a strange ship with a monstrous crew and launched on a disorienting and perilous journey. The writer, Straka, the incendiary and secretive subject of one of the world's greatest mysteries, a revolutionary about whom the world knows nothing apart from the words he wrote and the rumors that swirl around him. The readers. Jennifer and Eric, a college senior and a disgraced grad student, both facing crucial decisions about who they are, who they might become, and how much they're willing to trust another person with their passions, hurts, and fears. Conceived by filmmaker J.J. Abrams and written by award-winning novelist Doug Dorst. Okay, so I knew there was a real, or not that J.J. Abrams is not a real author, but I knew there was like another author. So it's J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, which if I read it would say, is the chronicle of two readers finding each other in the margins of a book and enmeshing themselves in a deadly struggle between forces they don't understand. It is also Abrams and Dorst's love letter to the written word. So this is the book that Matt picked for me. I'm excited to read it. I hope it's good. I'm curious how it's going to go reading it like this, because this is kind of a cumbersome book to read. So this is going to be a project. I might vlog my experience reading this, because I know some people have vlogged House of Leaves, and it seems really interesting. I haven't watched any of those vlogs because I'm waiting until I read it to watch anything about it. But let me know if you'd be interested in seeing me vlog this, because I'm curious how it's gonna go. But that's that. And I also just wanted to quickly mention that I am planning on reading the last installment in the S.A. Chakraborty series that starts with Kingdom of Copper. It's called River of Silver. I don't really know exactly where it falls in the series, because the trilogy is Kingdom of Copper, or City of Brass, Kingdom of Copper, and Empire of Gold. I think Kingdom of Copper is the second book. I don't know why that was the one that I said it started with. I believe it starts with City of Brass. But it's a like Middle Eastern inspired fantasy. So it's set in Egypt to start, and we follow this girl Nari, who is a con artist. And she has this like weird ability where she can kind of tell when people are sick and what is ailing them. And then she has the ability to heal it, but she uses this power for evil, kind of, because she's conning people into thinking that they have these ailments that they don't actually have. And she's got a deal running with this apothecary where they go to the apothecary for the cures that she prescribes them, and then she gets a cut of the money. But she ends up doing this ceremony that she kind of thinks is fake, but she summons a djinn in the first book, and then the djinn takes her on this journey to this magical world, and she has to like sort of figure things out from there. It's a very involved story. I will have my final thoughts on the last book, which I read in May, coming up shortly. That should be Monday's video, my wrap up, but we'll see how that works out, because I don't know if I'm gonna have time to film it, because we are going out of town this weekend, and it's my brother-in-law's wedding. So that's what we're doing. We're literally leaving tomorrow morning. It's Wednesday when I'm filming this. This video goes up tomorrow, which is why I'm filming this now. And yeah, so it's called River of Silver. I think I already said that. There's a read along for this series going on BookTube, so I will link down below the channel that I heard this from, and hopefully I will catch the live show for this last book. I did not catch any of the other ones, but I'm hopeful that I can watch this last live show, and that's actually the last thing that I'm reading this month. So I have the 6 books on my TBR plus 7 with River of Silver, which hopefully I can get to all of them, no problem. I read a lot in May, but spoiler alert for my wrap up, I did not finish my TBR, so that's interesting. But anyways, I'm gonna let real like time past Mary for me, but like real time Mary for this video, finish this video. That's it. So I mentioned this already, but I am participating in Buzzword in June, and I'm just gonna do In a Dark Dark Wood for my Buzzword pick. I vlogged my Buzzwordathon experience in May because I had so many books that fit the buzzword. So that vlog is already up. If you want to watch it, I will link it for you. But I don't know if I'm going to be vlogging my Buzzwordathon read in June, because I think I'm just planning on doing the one. Thanks so much for watching this video. As always, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books that I've talked about and how you felt about them. Also, let me know what your reading plans are for June. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, because I do try to post 2 videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!